Alright, well, we don't have any spark in this engine, so I am going to do just like they taught us in school. I'm going to pull this engine out of here, and I'm going to troubleshoot it on the bench. Yes, sir, I am. I certainly am. Alright. Let's get this thing out of here. Oh, there's one thing I did not do. I did not build me a engine pulling plate. Oh well. I think I can pick it up out of there by hand. Yes, I do have a 24-inch extension, but I think it's in my box inside the house. Yeah, I'm not going to take the time to go look for it. So I got 3 extensions put together. You have 4 14mm bolts that hold the engine in. Then you have 2 12mm bolts that hold the throttle cables in. They had to be removed. Then you can start getting it up out of the hole. It's a whole lot easier if you can pull it straight. And before I put it back in, I will have me a plate built with some hooks on it that will center the pulling operation, so it won't be so difficult. As you see, I had to well, I had to improvise with my chain and a rope. You'll see in just a moment. Try to keep all my nuts and bolts together. And go get my carburetor tool so I can adjust it. Get it loose from the plate. It's been stuck there for about 18 years. It's kind of a tangled mess. I'm making sure that everything will pull out of there pretty straight whenever I start pulling it out. I do not have any of the wires disconnected from the harness. I want to be able to see them whenever they come up out of there. Right here, I'm taking the throttle cable loose. Trying to make sure there's nothing else that's holding it, keeping it in the bind. There we go, it's loose now. Got to get the drive shaft loose. Still hadn't got it moved far enough to get that drive shaft loose. There we go. Now we can move that engine around and get it to where it's positioned where we can get it out of there. I mentioned a while ago about picking it up by hand. Look at my fat belly. It'd take a bull to get it out of there, and the way I've been down in my back lately, I don't think I'm really gonna pick it up out of there by hand. I would end up hurting myself. end up being in the chiropractor's office. So there's a look at the hoses, how they're routed, and on the carburetors. And now I got my lift hooked up, and it works a lot easier when you've got a trolley type lift that's just straight on up, and you can move your trailer, you can move your ski a little bit here and there and here, and you can move your trolley. Sure works a lot easier. Okay, this made it easy enough. They give you just a little bit more room from side to side on that ski to get that plate out of there. It'd be a lot better. Here I am, I'm cinching the rope up to help keep that engine straight. As you see there, I kind of getting a little bit perturbed at it. That mounting plate on that engine is just barely wide enough. I mean, the hole is just barely wide enough to get the engine out of, and the ski's not sitting straight. The engine's not sitting straight. The lift is just a little bit out of position. But here we go. Here we go. Now we get to where we can start unclipping wires. And no, I'm not cutting wires. I'm cutting tie wraps. And there is 2 wires that I had to cut that come from the fuel sending unit. No big deal. I'll put them together with some watertight connectors that solder them together. It'll be just fine. Now from right here I can see fuel. And you know, people have the best intentions when they tell you these stories. But this gentleman told me that they drained the entire fuel system and then shrink wrap the whole thing and put it up in the garage. I don't know so much about this because that fuel filter had fuel in it, you know. So if the fuel filter had fuel in it, the carburetor probably had fuel in it. Alright, here we go. We got all these plugs to undo. And then we'll get it over here and get it on the bench and troubleshoot it. Or we might just troubleshoot it in there, who knows. But sometimes it's easier to troubleshoot something by eyeball. I mean, because once you start ohming this stuff out, it can get real, well, not confusing, but you can get some bad readings if you've got the right conditions. And sometimes putting an eyeball on something is better than any ohm meter reading that you may pull. So here I am cutting tie wraps and getting this getting the tail end of this thing ready to pull on up out of there. And that right there is something I'm probably going to pull completely out of the ski whenever I get ready to go back in with the engine, because that oil tank is absolutely useless now. These folks had this thing set up on a tank mix, and that oil tank is just taking up space and weighing it down. You get all these wires undone and cut all these tie wraps where I can get this tangled mess out of here. How it ended up in such a tangled mess, I don't know, but I'm not going to take credit for all of it. When I put it back together, it won't be tangled. Now I could not get that plug out of there, and so it's like, hey, well, wait a minute. Let me just take it loose up here. And I'm not going inside the box to take it loose. So I'm going to cut the wire, and then whenever I get ready to put the engine back in, I will splice it with a waterproof solder joint, and we'll let it go. Completely loose there. Now we're going to get it up here to where we can see to work on it, and I'll show you what I find. We'll zip this cover off. I had full intentions of going through and showing you guys how to own this thing out, but the more I thought about it, well, you see, I decided not to do all that because I just knew for a fact that it was going to give some bad readings, it was going to give some good readings, it was going to give some more good readings. So I want to look at this thing. I'd already planned on looking at it. I'd already decided in my mind that the stator needs to be looked at. It needs to be addressed. And give me just a second here, and I'll show you. This is why I decided to forego all the troubleshooting.
Remember what I said the other day?
I mean, just look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a classic sign
that is terrible.
of the stator and the pulse coil not working. Either one of the plugs were firing, so I mean, it's like, hey, look at the flywheel. Jeez, man. Okay, well, on to the parts store. God bless you, and remember, Jesus saves.